How many minutes do you think I'll beat you by on Saturday?
0. No, well, actually, no. Negative. I'm going to run with you, so.
We'll see.
Just what?
We'll see if you do that.
You think I'm going to take off? I'm not going to take off. I've run a total of 5 miles this year.
Yeah, but I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you... I was talking to Jordan Wilcher about
If you cramp and like...
I'm not going to cramp. Maybe I'll cramp.
I'll leave you, but...
It's fine.
I don't know.
I was talking to Jordan about it, and I said, Chris said he's going to run with me, and I said, we'll see.
I fully plan to. It hasn't even been a thought in my mind because I literally do not care. Like, if you weren't doing this, I would not go tomorrow.
You asked me to do it.
I wouldn't go Saturday. I know that. If you weren't doing it, now I'm like, oh, this would be fun. But, like, I would not go if it was just me because the me that set that goal...
And I ain't that me no more.
That's a different me. Nah,
I ain't that me no more.
I just don't care right now. So I don't have a goal. I do want us to do it in under 2.
You slipping in some deep nihilism over there, man? You all right?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yeah. No, I just don't care about this. I care about a lot of things.
List them.
So
list the things.
I mean, I'm having fun with jiu-jitsu right now.
Jinjitsu?
I'm having fun with jiu-jitsu right now.
Jinjitsu.
I would
Jinjitsu.
I thought this was on Sunday, like recently.
Saturday.
And then I was like, yeah, I'll still do jiu-jitsu. I'll still do jiu-jitsu Saturday morning.
I'm still going to jiu-jitsu.
I'll still go on Saturday morning and then turn around and do this Sunday. And now it's like I'll still go Friday, turn around and do this Saturday. But if it was just me, I'd probably not go and I would just go to jiu-jitsu. Just because I'm having more fun with it right now. So.
Yeah. No, not everybody sticks to the things they say that they're going to do, Chris. It's just some people are like that. I guess you're one of them. So
I mean, I guess if you feel like, but yeah, no, nothing.
Say it. Do it. Do it. You coward. Say what you were going to say.
I was going to say those people probably haven't accomplished anything and they're just miserable doing something over and over. So.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't make eye contact with you while I said that. I wasn't speaking to you.
I didn't think you were saying it to me, but I just realized what kind of person you actually are.
Yeah.
You know who you are now, Chris. Judgmental.
Yeah.
I can tell by your face. I'm gonna stop. No, I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to doing it. I guess there was part of me. I had this weird thing where I was like, wonder how. I'm not gonna do this, and it was just like a weird thought in my brain. Because where else would you have a thought? Was I wonder how fast I could run it while staying in zone 2.
Nah.
Which would be silly,
That'd
right?
be dumb.
But I think I could do it under 2.5 hours.
I have no idea.
I think I could. Based on the last long run I did.
What pace would that be?
Oh, 2.5 hours would be... So that's 2 hours is 150 minutes. I guess it's only a 15-minute mile pace, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was like...
It's super slow. Isn't it? No, it's faster than that.
You should...
A 12-minute mile gives you... A 10-minute mile gives you 120 minutes, right? 10-minute mile give you 120. Tires.
2.5 hour half marathon pace is... Oh, I hate it's one of these charts. It would be an 11:27. I think that'd be easy. But why?
Oh, I just had a silly thought. I was just telling you about my silly thoughts is all I was doing.
It's a dumb thought.
Why are you judging me? I was just telling you about a silly thought I had. I did cardiac power intervals yesterday, running up a hill. And the thing is, like, you haven't done much running. I haven't done much hard running at all. I think total hard running I've done this year is, so that's a total of, I did 4 intervals and they're each a minute. So that's 4 minutes. I did 1 10-minute threshold run, 1 interval, and then like 5 minutes at the end of a long run. So that's all the hard running I've done. So
it's more hard running than I've done this year.
Yeah. So we'll see. I am looking forward to, I talked to somebody this morning, one of the guys, and he's done this. I bet you could guess which guy. And I mentioned the taco, the margaritas and steak towards the end. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, it's so much fun. It's awesome. So I might have one.
Tall guy.
Yeah, very tall guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're not like saying his first name would be.
I'm not allowed to. It's in the Geneva Convention. So Chris and I are running a half marathon on Saturday, if that sounded cryptic.
I guess we didn't say that, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about what we were doing. So, yeah, we're going to run a half marathon. Chris asked me to do it with him.
We're going to film some stuff.
But you've been planning on this for a long time. I'm going to say ridiculous things as they come to my brain while we're running. Mostly about how much I hate running.
Well, I'm not going to be filming the whole time.
When I tell you to film, you're going to film. I'm going to be like, I got something.
I'm like drinking a carbonated, I don't want to burp.
You got a burp?
God. I'm not going to run with the Osmo Pocket 3.
What the fuck is that?
The camera that you want me to take. So you have the Osmo Pocket 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Osmo Pocket 3. I'm not going to run with that because it's not weather sealed. If it falls, the gimbal breaks. I'm just going to run with the Action 4, just the action camera.
Action.
So it'll horizon lock. It'll be the steadiest footage.
For the longest time, I went by the name Action. They called me Action Todd. A lot of people did. Many years. Action. Action. There's Action Todd. People would say that. I don't know why they gave me that nickname.
We should move on.
I've had a fair amount of nicknames.
I'll bet.
Stage names too. You know what
I know you did have a stage name. You were invited on stage at a drag show.
I was. Well, not on stage.
Oh, I thought they did.
But that was honestly, I mean, obviously the relationship didn't work out, but that was probably the most fun first date I've ever been on in my life. It was amazing. It was a Whitney Houston theme drag show.
Did you know that your date was a drag queen? Like, or you thought it was a chick?
No, that's not how it was. But we, so what happened was we met at this bar before going to a escape room, which is a risky move for a first date, right? But you do find out, can this person think? So we went to the escape room and we did it with there was this woman and her daughter did it with us, and like we didn't get out because it was just like, well, let's let the daughter try to figure all these things out, and that's fun. Let's let the kid try. But while we were at the bar before we went, I noticed a flyer for a Whitney Houston themed drag show, and I was like, oh, well, let's come back to that. That'll be fun. And so we did. And then there were like four total straight folks in the room, and so of course I got singled out, and they like pulled me up and made me dance around the room and stuff, and I was like, yeah, fuck, I'll do it. It was fun. I made a lot of money.
That you kept?
No, I gave it all back, but I gave it to the performers so they could have it. But
Fantastic.
it was honestly the most fun first date I've ever been on in my life. It was amazing.
Was that a first and last date? I don't even know what.
No, we dated for a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else to say about it.
All right. I'm going.
It's nice to be. It's nice to be appreciated, I guess is what I will say. And like ogled. I think. I mean, I felt good. I'll take that. It wasn't too handsy. It could have been handsier. I think I'd have been more comfortable with even a little handsier.
Right.
So, but anyway, we one of the things, the last article I wrote for our blog. Here's a point of contention that Chris and I had recently. I sent him an article for the blog, and I called it "Here's a blog article," and Chris said that's redundant. Essentially, I was like, "No, sir, you are wrong."
No, I said, thank you for the non-bread.
Yeah, exactly. Which is essentially you're saying it's redundant, but it's not. The blog is the entity on which you publish articles, and so I very quickly corrected him and sent him a Google link to the definitions. So,
but most people would say,
here's an article.
Read this blog.
Yeah. Well, which would be incorrect, because then reading the blog would entail them having to read, like, yes, keep up with this blog is what that would actually mean, So anyway, Chris was wrong, but I sent over an article because this is somewhat reactionary, but we had a pretty gnarly training week to end the last training block phase, and week three. And so folks, it's a lot of training stress. And so going forward, we figured, here's a piece of information, some pieces of information that'll help people get through hard training weeks, no matter the training phase. But that's one of maybe the hardest training week of the year here. Might be.
I think so, or the VO2 max intervals.
Yeah, those suck a lot. Those really suck. Anyway, so I put together something to help people get through that, and I think we'll just go line item by line item through that and talk about it. So the first thing I think that we should talk about is setting solid expectations. And so what I mean by this is like how you're going to feel. I think a lot of times what you need to realize, especially as a training block goes on, and it's one that accrues volume like this training block does, part of the point is to feel fatigued by the end of it, because on the other side of that fatigue is where fitness is. So you'll super compensate and you'll be fitter on the other side of that, but you have to accrue fatigue sometimes to get there. And so especially on these kind of weeks, I don't know that I think people can be surprised by how fatigued they feel, and it's just part of the deal. So having the expectation when you look at these kind of weeks on a training program that you're not going to feel like $1,000,000. Go on, your turn. Say something useful.
I don't know that I have anything to add.
Well, maybe
to that.
add something from like context from you training for your ultra marathon or something.
I think the only thing that comes to mind is like the rest of your day. Okay, and like what to be prepared for. So for instance, and Lane Norton is on Diary of a CEO podcast, came out today.
I started listening.
Did you get to the part where he talks about NEAT?
Nope.
So, and it made me reflect, and I experienced this for sure. And he was talking about how with his ex-wife, he hates like the Real Housewives of insert whatever city here. But he was like, when his last bodybuilding prep, at like the hardest phase of it, he's like, I just came home and I was so incredibly tired. He was like, and I hate this show. And like, I guess she left it on. She wasn't there. And the remote was like 7 feet away and he could go change it. But he was just like, not like no movement, none. Just like, whatever. I'll just deal with it. Right. And, in some of my deepest, I guess we'll say phases of like my run training, or even like think about it after, the 100 rep volume week, or there's weeks where, with jiu-jitsu, they're like, we're only going to work like 20, 30 minutes between warm-ups and technique. That'll cover like 20, 30 minutes. And then we're rolling for an hour today. It's like, you can sit out as much as you want, but then you're like, this is fun. I want to keep going. But what you'll notice is like the whole thing, bringing it back to NEAT and what Lane was talking about, is it's not conscious, but if you reflect back on it, you're like, yeah, your body will involuntarily cut back. What does he call it? Sporadic activity. So if you think, it could be twitching, but it could also be like, you're not thinking about it, but you're just like, I have energy. I'm going to get up and move. And you're just,
yeah,
everything feels heavy. Like I'm so wiped. Even the thought of things that you would typically enjoy getting up and going and doing, you're just like, no, do I think that you need to feel like that often? No, but just, you're going to feel like that sometimes.
Yeah. It's a few times, like one to a few times per year that you need to feel that way. That's it.
Felt that way probably once a week.
Very specific thing that you were doing, and very different from what most people are doing.
Yeah.
So yes, and that's where it's like, I saw this thing about, I wrote an article about Zone 2 training for human predator pack mule yesterday. So I spent like brushing back up on what I knew and all of that kind of stuff, and I got into some articles by cyclists, and saying about like any Zone 2 workout under 2 hours is worthless. And it's like, well, that's just not fucking true. And based on what they're trying to accomplish and the miles that they need to ride and do all that kind of stuff, like for them, that might be the case. Yeah. But like, no, like you start to get adaptations at 30 minutes. Like, do you get as much of the carb sparing and like, and like development of your lipolytic pathways at 30 minutes? No, like you need to go for longer to really develop that kind of stuff. But it's just like context based, where like you're going to do something where you're going to run for 75 miles, where the amount of fatigue you're going to feel is likely going to be more than what anybody else from, what someone who might come to our gym or just do something else might need to feel. It's going to be different. And also, and I think one of your superpowers is you can handle a ton of training volume. Like you can handle way more training volume than I can, for sure. But like extra medium-sized people typically can. So,
but it's also made me reflect. And this is one of those things where it's like, the only way that you could know is to do this. And then I'm like, well, I know what I did before worked, so why would I do that? But it's like, I reflect on, say, the Georgia Death Race, and I'm like, I was never really in the hurt locker on that until like the very end. And even that, I think there's a psychological component too.
Because you're finishing.
Because you're just like, the finish line's right here, and you're like, I want to turn everything up, and you're just like, but after the fact, I'm like, I don't think that, I needed as much volume as my coach gave me, and blah, blah, blah. And you have this big opinion on it, and you're like, because it was easy. And then you're like, or
it was easy.
Was it easy because you did all this volume?
Yeah.
The only way to know is to then go do a low volume train up. But then it's like, I watched people in the hurt locker. I watched people pass me, and I'm like.
But do you think that was a management strategy issue?
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, I guess the only answer, it's not the only answer, but I think a safe answer would be yes, because anyone could cover 74 miles, but speed is what will get you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you could, if there's no time goal, it's like.
Most people hike 74 miles in like a week. You know what I mean? They usually do it in a week.
That's what I'm saying. But even like if it was just like, I'm going to take 2 days and do this, you could do that and then really enjoy it, even if you're not in the best. I mean,
no, I can tell you that you're going to have a bad time if you're not in shape. So,
but point being, like, speed changes everything. So yeah, maybe they just didn't manage themselves. Maybe they underfueled. I was talking to someone about this, one of the guys out there on Tuesday about this. It's like, I also think the reason, it's like there's part psychology. Why did it hurt so bad at the end? But there's also like, oh, I'm almost at the finish line. Like, I'm not going to spend as long like having food at this next aid station because I just want to get done. And then you're like, maybe it's like, because the thought process is whatever it was, 8 to 10 miles to go. Like, that's an easy training run. Yeah. But those easy training runs were 8 to 10 miles.
Yeah, they weren't at the end
they
of
weren't
60 miles.
Yeah. And so a lot of things can, but anyways, I think we're a little bit off topic with that.
I don't think so. I think it contributes. Yeah, I just think I don't know if there's anything, check in on like disproportionate soreness would be the thing, right? So it's like if your right hip is really sore and nothing else is really sore, like something's up, or if you're like, your left side of your body's more sore than your right, like you likely stressed something, a movement in a way that you shouldn't have stressed it. So you might have been doing a movement that was wrong for you, or you just moved in a really funky way, and had a funky strategy to get something done. Which you don't want stress to be disproportionate like that. Like deep soreness is likely okay in something like that. It could mean that you didn't recover well enough, that you didn't eat enough, that you didn't drink enough, that whatever you might have given your body too much stress. But deep soreness is sometimes part of the deal. But disproportionate soreness is not a good thing. And so that's like the one thing where it's like if you're sore, but it's like, my glutes are sore and both glutes are equally sore, that's probably okay. But if one glute's really sore and the other one isn't, like you did something funky. Yep. And so that's something to pay attention to. And so either, maybe as you accrued fatigue, your movement went to shit, or you just need someone to look at your movement and you can't stress something in that volume, whereas like, for example, I can go and do goblet squats and do fine. But from a loading perspective, it's okay because of it puts me in a good position, but also it's not heavy. But if I could go do, one squat with 400 pounds and that's all I can do. But if I tried to train my squat heavy all the time, it's going to be a problem. So there's like a stress breakdown somewhere. So it's kind of a back and forth. So if you have coaches like us, you're fine. But if you don't, there's something to examine there and maybe do some research or have somebody look at your movement or something like that. This one got people. be judicious with your weight selection.
Yeah.
Where on those, so we do a 3-week build up from 50 reps of 4 different exercises up to 75, up to 100. I think next time we should do 80, by the way, 50, 80, 100, because it'll break down. It's easier to do the math. Yeah. So, and then back down to 50. And so, obviously we coached people to, in all of the information that we put out and everything, like, be careful. Don't choose too much weight, but people still did anyway. Whereas, like, I don't know. What thoughts do you have? Where do you want to start with that?
I mean, that was the most common thing that I saw was people tried to use too much weight. Personally, I approached that one very different this time, and it hurt, not like pain hurt, but I think I enjoyed it better. Is I was getting to where people are like, all right, if I do the first exercise in the first minute and the second exercise at the top of the second minute, and I do this many reps and this many reps, it works. But I feel like psychologically, I was just like, ugh, because then you're just like, I have this many sets of this. And so I played a different game. I did take the same weight that I used for the 75 rep week, but I threw sets and reps out the window, and I just went until like a reps in reserve type thing that I had in my head. Like, I'm going to go until I have 4 to 5 in reserve. And if the first set, that means that I get 20 reps with this weight, cool. I'm a minute in, less than a minute in, and I already have 20. But that'll change fast. It means that when I reached the halfway mark, I was well over 50 reps. But getting from whatever it was that I was at that point, you're like, oh, I'm at 70 reps maybe, and you're like, only 30 to go. Those 30 are very, very different than if you'd just been like, all right, I'm going to do, I forget what the time is on it, but I'm going to do X number of reps every minute on the minute. So I guess bringing that to the weight selection, I was able to do it with the same weights, but my rest looked different. But if you're going to go like every minute on the minute, like a lot of folks were, I think that your weight needs to come down. The way that I did it, I built in more rest on the back end where fatigue accumulated. I like raced it in the beginning, and then once I had a really good head start, I started going, all right, and I finished around the same time as people. So
yeah. Yeah, I think in cases like that, especially when you're accruing a lot of volume in one session or across a month, I mean, it's always better to err on the, maybe this is a little bit too light side, especially if you're not super fitness man like Chris Merritt, so that's something to keep in mind, because I think people underestimate how much that fatigue will accrue even with lighter weights. So it's like, if you look at something, and let's say, we were doing, I think the easiest way to say is you just really got to have reps in reserve and really pay attention to them. Yep. And like be willing to change that every set. And then as you fatigue, like have more of a focus on execution. Yeah. Because we know from research, one of the times people most often get hurt when they're lifting is when they're tired. And so that's like one of the big reasons that we deadlift earlier in the week instead of at the end of the week, so we don't accrue a ton of fatigue before we go and deadlift heavy. So I also think some of the stuff about form, the research on form is bullshit. But anyway, we don't need to get into that right now. Anyway, can I just say this? Do you follow Dave Tate on Instagram? I don't, but I like Dave Tate.
All that he's doing right now, I don't know why, but he's just like, what do you think of this? What would you have done differently? And it's just people getting absolutely...
I've seen him do that before.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like there was one of Larry Wheels spotting someone on bench press, and it's crazy. Normally like someone's pec tears, and it's like you'll see like a part of it, but from his shoulder to the center of his chest, the whole thing just... And it's like stuff that like some of them he'll post, like it's then people reacting afterwards, because there was one of someone... like just on the eccentric portion of a squat, and their legs just
crumple,
folded in, and they like were collapsed on themselves. And then it showed a dude like thinking about putting heavy weight in the bar, and he pulled all the weight off and just put a 10-pound plate on the bar. It's just like, but I don't know. You saying about fatigue and injury just made me think of like all these videos he's sharing.
Yeah, yeah, I just think that's one of the things is really pay attention to, like, don't get sloppy.
Yeah.
Slow yourself down. Pay attention to each rep as you execute. I think that's one of the most important things as you start to build fatigue. And if you have to leave a few extra reps in the tank, that's fine. Unless it's like some kind of protocol that's very specific to, like, you know, like some of Pat Davidson's 30-second 30 on 30 off work is like you need to push to near failure based on the protocol of the program, but we don't do shit like that. So it's, and most people don't need that. That's like a very specific plan for training for hypertrophy, which I don't know. I wouldn't do that. It's not how I would train, but
I do like how you say hypertrophy.
I didn't mean to do it that way. Hypertrophy. Yeah. When I first learned that word, that's what I thought it was. Hypertrophy.
You get a trophy for all this work.
Hypertrophy. So anyway, I think that's one of the things that people need to manage. Another thing is eating.
Yeah.
It's okay to eat a little bit more during those weeks. I think where a lot of people get a little worried about that, but adding some extra calories is going to help you recover. And it doesn't, like, when I say that, you know, I'm not saying like eat an extra meal or stuff yourself at every meal, but like an extra banana and an extra like 20 grams of protein could go a really long way to help you out.
And hydration.
Yeah.
Those sessions tend to get a little more sweaty. So even something as simple as weighing yourself before and after a session like that and just making sure that you're rehydrating back up.
Well, yeah. And as you do rehydrate, I think the thing to keep in mind is, let's say you sweat like crazy and you lost, I'm arbitrarily saying you lost 3 pounds, right? So that's what? 60, 30, 48 ounces, right? So you'd want to replace that in fluid, but don't go do that in the first hour of after exercise, because if you do, you're going to piss all that out. You're just going to dump it. So you have to spread that rehydration out over the course of a couple hours. So, or otherwise, you're just going to piss too much and it won't do anything for you. But yeah, extra calories. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. I'm not saying, like I said, an extra meal or just go nuts. I mean, but a little bit more is going to do a lot to help you out. Next thing. Do the little things to improve your recovery.
We're just having to stare down here.
I want you to say something.
It's been a minute since I've looked at this. What are we calling little things? The
light walks,
the sleep,
mobility exercises, and stuff.
I think that's the most common thing that I say to people. And this is really on any volume day here in the gym. I'm like, you are going to be sore tomorrow. The worst thing you could do is be like, I'm sore, I'm going to chill and watch TV today. Like, get up, do the warm up, go for a walk. And I'm not saying do all this, but like, you could get up and do the warm ups. You could get up and go for a walk and like build in breaks throughout the day where you get up and just move. And that soreness will dissipate a lot faster than if you're like, I'm sore, I'm going to wait this out. It'll get real bad.
Blood needs to flow.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's the biggest things, like doing the mobility exercises, taking walks, like, and keeping your activity level up. Whereas, like you talked about, I mean, obviously NEAT is subconscious, but activity level, I think even in general, will try to drop during those weeks, and trying to keep it up a little bit is going to help you recover. And then
that's where I think having a step goal is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah. And then sleep, of course, because that's where you, that's where you mostly recover is your sleep. So, I mean, I think one of the, toning yourself down at night so you can sleep, because getting through all of your sleep cycles and being able to get into deep sleep, especially during the first half of the night, is where you're going to recover. Like, that's where a lot of your physical recovery comes from. So, I mean, and it kind of ties into the last thing I want to talk about is like breathing to manage stress. Whereas like I do two things to kind of help that with myself. I do that regularly, but also during
breathe. I had to.
It was really good, Chris. And we've all learned why I handle the humor around here. Is just some breathing exercises based on some things that we've learned with like a 4 second in, 6 second immediate 6 second exhale, and then a 2 second out. And essentially what it does,
hold
2 second hold out, right? Which is essentially is just it's vagal nerve stimulation. So it tones you down by activating your vagal nerve, which is like the main like governor of your parasympathetic nervous system. So I do that after workouts for just a handful of minutes. And then I don't try to stop myself. I just go when I start to like really feel myself calm down. And then I do it again right before bed. And those two things help me a lot get into deep sleep a lot better. And that's where a lot of your physical recovery is going to come from. So doing those kind of things, especially after a workout, because one of the best things that you can do to aid your recovery is shift yourself parasympathetic as quickly as you can. And that's why we do, our cool down at the end of it, but adding a little bit to that and doing maybe a little bit extra breathing, within that handful of minutes to hour after you train is going to be good. And then again, before you go to bed, if you can just take even just 2 minutes and do a handful of breath cycles,
I mean, the way that was shown to us was is it try and get to 30 and no one
That's
can.
if you're trying to go, if you're laying down and trying to go to sleep. That's not
you
how
could
I
use it and you're getting yourself toned down at the same time. And it's just in for 4, out for 6, hold for 2. See if you can get to 30 breaths like that. And you just can't. You'll be out. So if you're having trouble falling asleep even, that can help. But
but those are the main points that we wanted to talk about on managing yourself during a different training week. So just a quick recap. Set the expectations. You're going to build fatigue. You're not going to feel like $1 million. That's okay. But pay attention to disproportionate soreness. Pay attention to form as fatigue builds. And don't train too easily. Don't take it easy on yourself, but be judicious with weight selection. Don't try to be a hero. Having a coach helps a ton on this kind of stuff. Add in at least a little extra calories, especially on the harder training days. An extra banana and a protein shake will go a long way. And then move in between sessions. Do your mobility work. Take some walks. Keep your activity level up. And then do like we just talked about. You do some kind of mindfulness or just breath work to kind of tone yourself down after a session and before you go to bed, and it'll help a ton. I don't think I have anything else to say. Do you have anything to say?
I just want to be awkward. No,
okay.
I don't think so. I think that does it.
Well, goodbye.